Good evening. In Illinois, during the winter, it gets dark around 4 or 5 p.m. So you have to rely on your internal lighting. But the yellow, yeah, it's not my favorite. You know, a few years ago, the algorithm was taken over by the Drake versus Kendrick so-called battle. They tried to recapture kind of the Jay-Z Nas thing from early 2000s. Every 20 years they try to remix something and make a new version of it and sell and commoditize it. And I think this time we all just kind of got tired of the facade. And it was really the jump the shark moment of hip hop culture. Um, you know, Joe Budden really invented the hip hop podcast landscape that kind of evolved into streaming. And, Joe Budden has been kind of controlled opposition since the Twitter days, but he himself has some creativity. I'm not going to dispute that. I haven't really wanted to directly confront this because I don't feel it's worth my time to talk about this type of stuff. But you people let Drake completely devolve one of the only good things you had for a decade plus. Just because there was some Jew money attached to it. At least with Eminem, you kind of had the courtesy to keep him at arm's distance. But I gotta tell you, I'm very disappointed in black culture. When I got to Texas, I realized that the radio DJs and or the radio personalities and the DJs, while they may have some talent, they don't have any, their hearts pump Kool-Aid. And as diluted as the spiritual world is, and nobody hates white Jesus more than me, believe me, but we're going to put a pin in that for right now. What these people do is they take anything that has any depth or value and reduce it to a series of numbers and formulas. They literally, you guys ever seen Mortal Kombat? What Shang Tsung does to people's souls? That's what these people do to anything that is God-given. And it's important for the young kids to know that you have a conscience that can tell you when this is being done to you. You have a deep internal spiritual sense that will allow you to run from this when you see it happening. You need to look very closely at all your classmates. A lot of them have the last name ending in Berg or Stein or something similar. And You'll know them because they're the first people that will tell you that believing in something is foolish or cowardly or unintellectual. And they'll have all kinds of theories and ideas about how the world is supposed to operate. And they'll be able to back it up with very well-crafted presentation. So like you see these kind of basic, you see all this junk that's sitting here? See the smoke detector hanging there? My weapon against these people, and it's not just the Jews, it's the Jews and who they use as pawns, is my raw authenticity. The only reason why my voice has to be so silenced, despite doing things that 1 in a billion human beings couldn't do, is that they can't steal from it without you seeing it. And if they do that, even more than they have been doing, which is why my Instagram looks the way it looks, if they gaslight any further than they have been doing, you will realize that they will do it to you. The first thing they do is take your women away from you. That forced celibacy is supposed to drive you into a pit of despair, because you're supposed to look all the way out to the end of your life and have such a great depression about never being able to reproduce or validate yourself sexually. And then you'll see very, very wealthy influencers that have access to the women that you're fond of. And then they'll give you female influencers that will say such despicable things to destroy your self-esteem. You don't have to fall for that. The only solutions I can provide for you are the ones that Texas Movement has already established, and the transparency I can give you from my own life experience. Most of Drake's career has been theft. He is far more Jew than he is black. He trots his father out in his Memphis, so-called history. Why didn't he do God's plan in Memphis? I have zero connection to Memphis well, that's not true. But it's not appropriate for this conversation. You have to keep your grass cut. There are snakes all around you. Anybody that creates art or content that pierces your natural self-esteem should be destroyed. You don't have to be, don't, Jews are masters of victimhood ideology and culture. As I told you before, they literally invented the Holocaust out of thin air. And even though they control every media group that comes from the mainstream, corporation owned, still they had to falsify an entire massacre, because otherwise we would actually learn about the trauma of slavery and Jim Crow. We know nothing about Reconstruction. Why doesn't Jane Elliott ever talk about that on our social media feeds? Since she is just our cousin, right? Why isn't our cousin teaching us about that? What does 6-7 have to say about Reconstruction? There's a big push to get you all to gamble, which is more greed. We're supposed to applaud rappers for opening casinos, which means they're probably clones being used as puppets. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. We're getting to the point now where we are learning about another one of their weapons: overindulgence in useless information. So, for example, one of my old mentors, Ray Edwards, wanted to be a part of this kind of Freemason operation where they do all kinds of fraternity style initiations and things like that. When people make decisions like that, they're gone in my eyes. I don't need to pledge my loyalty to any earthly authority for a temporary pay increase, whether it's through connection or through liquidity. Now, SpaceX is saying that it's going to be a $1.5 trillion company based on nothing. I'm not going to work for what someone else prints. And you're not going to use an old man's weakness against my power. Until he dies, he's going to be under the boot of the oppressor he loves so much. No one will come to his rescue. It will be a slow suicide. And for most of you, you will share the same fate. I don't need to know the depths of the evil that you've committed to stop me from succeeding. I don't need to know the disgusting gestures to idols that you've done in underground layers or forests or whatever the fuck you people do. I don't even need to save my own individual people anymore. HERO stands for a concept. Texas Movement stands for an idea. My life is for general defense. That's why I never got close to anybody. Number one, because I deserve more than leftovers. And number two, because no one took the time to even attempt to do it properly. But that's the difference between us and you. You have all the analytics, all the facts. And all you can do is just delay a payment. Do you feel in charge? Children, it is scary to take the unpopular route. To swim against the current. As much as women say they are equal to us, you will never see them saying anything against the Jews. Because they're already bought and paid for. So you don't need to take their opinion seriously whatsoever. Gauge their reaction. Ask your teachers. Most of your teachers are women. Usually feminists, usually well educated. Gauge their reaction when you ask them about these things. They will censor the discussion. It's been programmed into them since childhood. Hatred was never programmed into me. Loyalty was. And when situations arise that demand I be disloyal, not to any individual, but to certain principles, that's when I escalate. Not a moment before. I have no Bible verse to reference to you. I've lived my life in service to others, and I've asked only the bare minimum for myself. And time after time, I've been insulted. And people wait until your moments of fatigue and exhaustion to record your missteps. Put together a highlight reel of my missteps. Publicize it. We will let the court of public opinion decide how my life has been spent. Who else has spanned the past 37 years with this level of effectiveness? Ann Coulter personally said she would never vote for Vivek Ramaswamy. But now he's being heralded as the great white hope against the big bad hero. That's exactly why I chose the name Hero. And that's exactly why I tied it to Texas movement. Because in order to destroy me, you would have to amplify me. I'm Jew too. There's nothing wrong with having music that caters to women. But Drake made a decision a long time ago to be a slave rather than uphold the principles that gave hip-hop a tiny bit of decency and dignified masculinity. He used Lil Wayne's Runway and made it a highway. Leeching off of the creativity of Atlanta. And you think you can piss on me like you got pissed on. I'm right here in Illinois. I'm not on Old Block. I'm in a very safe neighborhood, policed very well. If you ever want to come see me face to face, I am ready. Then we can talk about donations.